Oh no, now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He's sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. That is set up a try for Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Supercoach Tragic Podcast. I'm your host, Dan. With me tonight, nice little quick one tonight. So it's going to be just me and Glenn, mate. How was your week?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I went up nearly 3K, so and I got 1,045. Wasn't too bad. I had 14. I had 14 this round, so it wasn't too bad. Yeah.
Very nice. I finally, after 3 weeks of seeing red, I saw a green this week. Quite happy. So, smashed down at 11.21. So really decent score this week. I had 14 initially, and then Pele got named. So he knocked out Garrick's score for me, which was good for him. So, yeah, I think moving forward, I think I like the idea of having 14 or 15 players in that buy, just because it's really good to see those small scores drop out of your side. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I had Garrick drop out of my score too, which is good.
Yeah. But yeah, now I'm sitting back inside the 1,000 now, so I'm sitting at 713th overall. So back in range, which is good. So all right. So as per usual, we'll start off with the overall group. So a bit of controversy here. We have tied first right now. So Frank's Tanks and Here Come the Bears, both ranked 10th overall.
Nice.
Equal, which is really it shows you how close it's been close all year.
Nice work.
Yeah, well done, boys. Yeah, there's a couple of guys a bit lower down that are also tied on I think 7th. They're tied 7th. So very, very close. Yeah.
Nice.
And before we get into the games, one last thing I want to talk about. So in round 20, we're going to kick off our $5 knockout comp. So they'll start round 20. Currently got 48 runners. If you are interested in this $5 knockout comp, please message Brod Thompson. Jump into our Supercoach Tragics cash comp page on Facebook. Reach out there. Just tuck in $5, guys. It's the overall group you join, and then we chuck you into a random head-to-head spreadsheet, and then the last one stands, get to the money. So
nice.
Good luck to all. Alrighty, let's kick off. Let's start with the first game of the week: Dragons versus New Zealand, mate. Anything reaching out to you here?
Yeah, not a lot. I think Tohu Harris, if you haven't got him, could still be a buy. If you're looking at players, I think if you're going to waste trades now, most people will be low. So if you're looking at players, personally, that are either nothing out or that are cheap to bring money in, or players that you can keep for the run home. And I think Tohu Harris. The other one of interest is Sean Johnson. I think the matchup versus the Dragons is a good matchup. I think it'll be good this round. Looking at their draw going forward, I'm not sure how pretty that unfolds. But look, the Warriors have been a surprise packet this year, and I've always been a Sean Johnson fan.
Yeah, I think this week they've got an easy game. I think the next 2 or 3 weeks are tough, but after that they've got a good run home. Because they had a really tough start to the year with their draws. So I think they got like one good game this week, and then they've got 3 tough ones. I think it's like Melbourne, someone like I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was 3 games in a row. That's why I was looking at SJ very, very seriously this week as a replacement for having no Cleary. So, what are your thoughts on CNK? You reckon CNK is a sneaky option centre wing there?
Yeah, I do. I think CNK's been a good packet. I think that he was really a buy a few rounds ago. I'm not sure what his price is. I've been a little lazy today, and I haven't gone and looked at the most traded out, most traded in, and I also haven't looked at the prices, which I usually do. But yeah, I do like CNK. Look, I like anyone that plays at fullback in the centre position. It's always been one of the things of Supercoach to have fullbacks and second rowers there when you can. They get really nice base, so I don't hate it at all.
Yeah, I think CNK is sitting at 671,000, so quite up there with the price. But he's got a nice low break, or not low break even, but low enough to go up in cash. He's got a 32 break even there. So, but like we said, we got one good matchup this week. And it's not like it obviously it seems like a really good matchup, but it is away. It is in at Wynn Stadium as well. So, we never know what's going to happen. Other than that, really, I think Jack Bird is back again. I'm not sure if I'd be touching him. I think there's better options out there. But yeah, another option there, probably more so for draft. I reckon I would go Jack Bird.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I don't hate Jack Bird, but I just think that in the second row position, it's a prime real estate area, and I think there's a lot of better ones
Yeah, definitely.
to run home with.
Awesome. All right, next game, Dolphins versus Parramatta up in Queensland. So, anyone here that you think is a buy?
Well, look, I think Valence Tafare could be interesting if you're looking for someone to trade down. Like, the reason I wouldn't be touching is he could turn out to be an AE nightmare when other players come back. As you see, he's come and played through the bench. But I've seen a few people ask me about him. Ozako, if you don't own, I mean, I'd be looking at him, definitely getting on. Jeremy Marshall-King, you've got someone in that position where you need a hooker for the buy rounds. Jeremy Marshall-King could be an option. There's quite a few I like in the from the Eels. I mean, obviously Gutherson. Now that we've lost Turbo and Latrell's looking like he may go over to the States, I heard a little rumor. If that's true, then Gutherson could even turn out to be a keeper based on the way he's been playing. Just my perspective. Dejan Arce, I've been asked about. Look, I wouldn't be doing that. We don't know what's going on with Brown and points per dollar. I just don't think that one makes sense. Bryce Cartwright, geez, he's been very consistent this year. I'm not sure I'd be buying him, but if you don't own Hopgood, I probably wouldn't touching him either. But I bought in Ryan Madison last week as a bit of a sneaky pod. It didn't play out the way I wanted. I just thought he needed one attacking stat with his base, and I thought that would be nice. But he's a keeper for me. I'll keep him for the run home. But Madison, I'd be watching. He might be a buy for next round. Just wait until the Origin. There's a few players now with this loss that could bring other players into contention. Olakoadu, Kaloa Matangi, Madison, all players who would have been in my Origin side.
Yeah. Well, one thing I will say as well, so with Madison, a lot of people seeing the orange dot against his name means starting from the bench. To be honest, I'd rather see him start from the bench than start at 5'8". He comes on 20 minutes into the game and plays the rest of the minutes, and he's got a PPM above 1 point. So he normally gets around the 65 point onwards in just base and base attack alone.
Base is 61.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal. That's why I like him. He's got incredible base, and that's playing from the bench. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, do you reckon we've got a debutant on the Dolphins team, McGrady there? Don't everyone's gonna fall for that trap? You reckon?
Yeah, I wouldn't be touching that trap. I think there's one coming up in the next game that's a little more up that alley. In Dylan Lucas, we'll get to if you're looking for someone to trade down at a bottom dollar. I think that one offers a better option.
Yeah, and one last thing on this game, actually, number 19 on the outside bench there, O'Sullivan there. So just be careful what happens there.
Well, so I want to speak to that. So I'm actually an Isaiah Katoa owner, and I was actually worried about that. And I thought Sullivan on the bench, he could come in for a Katoa. That was my genuine fear. But then I thought maybe he's put there in case Fido doesn't back up. And then that way Nikorima goes back to fullback spot. And, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I'm nervous. I've got Cookie and Katoa, which could knock me down to 15. I have no way of fixing it because I also had Brown. And I wanted Cody Walker. It was out of him or Sean Johnson, which way I went. So anyway, I agree with you. Yeah, I wanted to mention that. I don't know why I didn't.
Yeah, no, I just saw it then. I'm looking at the team list now going, yeah, a bit sneaky. But all good. We'll move on this game, though. So Penrith Panthers versus Newcastle. I'm liking any Panthers players in this game. Panthers at home versus Newcastle.
Yeah, I like this game. I think Targo's, still one that I find of interest. Although they don't play the round 19 bye, there's still two nice games coming up. I just like Targo. I think Targo's a play. I mean, I sold Toho last week. I had to sell somebody, and that's who I sold. But yeah, hold Taruva. I mean, there's people selling Taruva. I think he's a play all year. He's a hold and a play all year. They're a ceiling club. And Taruva's got great base. Any attacking stats or tries on top of that, and you're getting a nice solid score. What I will talk about in this game is Zach Hoskins. If you're one of the people that held him, I sold him about a month ago, but he's a sell now. I mean, he's been moved to reserve grade on New South Wales Cup, and even if he was in the side, his minutes are just not conducive with Supercoach.
Yeah, if you're going to have those kind of minutes, you don't mind him in the middle, but on the edge, those minutes aren't very good. So.
No, there's a couple of sneaky pods in the Knights game. So I actually like Dane Gagai. Looking at his scores, he's been punting along really nicely. And I actually don't mind Greg Marzu. If you don't own him, I still think he's a player you could take for the run home. He missed the bus, missed the game, and the other one's Kalen Ponga. Look, I'm debating this week between Kalen Ponga and Walker, but the reason I'm going Walker is the draw, and that Walker will play that round 19 bye, where Ponga won't. Ponga won't.
Yeah, and do you feel safe that I know a different game, but do you feel safe about Walker not making Origin?
I don't. Look, I've got Kalamatani, I've got Cook, I've got Walker, and look, if that's how it plays out, that's how it plays out, you know. But I've missed out on other players, worried about them not making the Origin, and then I've missed out altogether. So I thought I'm just going to jump on. I feel like the Origin side has to make changes. It really does. I don't think Cody Walker's the way they'll go though. I'm surely they've got to look at Matt Burton. I do not understand how Matt Burton hasn't made that side. He should have been the utility in that side, but he would be my 5'8". If it's not him, it would be Hines. If Cleary's playing, you could even move Moses over there. I've got a whole lot of options that I'm picking before Walker because I maintain what I've been saying every week. We need a second kicking option, and New South Wales don't have that second kicking option. And I believe that Moses or Hines or even Burton out in that position could create. Walker certainly could if you put Burton at left centre. I don't hate that play, having Walker as the 5'8" and Burton as the left centre for that kicking option still.
Yeah, I know we're kind of digressing from the segment, but what I will say is, personally, I think it's stupid to put Cody Walker into Origin, and that's not having a go at Cody. Cody's that he'd probably play a great game there. It's more to do with we've lost the series. The series is over. Now what we need to do is experiment with some younger kids and look for building our future. We can't hold put someone that's a bit older. I think how old is Cody now? Almost 30, I think.
Yeah.
So he's probably need to get some young blood in there, or like a Burton, like you said, nice and young, and go from there. But we'll go back to the games now. Anyone else from Newcastle Penrith that you're looking at? I know we wanted to bring up.
Dylan Lucas is people are looking for someone to trade down. If you've got someone, like a Burbo, and you want someone, to play a couple of rounds, then you could bring in Dylan Lucas. I think he's a great option as a trade down. He'll play in that position until Fitzgibbon comes back. Fitzgibbon's out. I'm not sure on the length of his injury. Again, I've been lazy tonight and I apologise, but Dylan Lucas is one I'd be looking at if you're looking at a trade down to make money for somewhere else.
Yeah, in the past, I've loved when you see those genuine centres jump in the second row. Yeah. Like you see, you like the likes of Aikens and then Lemuelu. They're like got a bigger body, but they've still got that speed. So they're the ones that run the good holes, run the good lines, and normally get a bit more attacking stats than a normal second rower would. So I really like the idea of having a genuine centre wing in your second row.
And the other thing is he's available at centre wing, right, Dylan Lucas? Yeah. So that's the other thing that makes him attractive is that having a second rower in your centre wing position is all centre wings and fullbacks in your centre wing position is always good for Supercoach. It's always played out well.
Definitely. All right, next game, Melbourne versus Manly. With the news that Turbo just come just then that he's out for the season, I can see Melbourne putting on a massive score on Manly at home. So
I can too. And look, so I've been saying all along Garrick's not a sell whilst Turbo's coming back, but flip that. Without Turbo in the side, they're no longer a ceiling club, in my opinion. That takes the ceiling out of Manly, which means that Garrick's no longer relevant in the centre position. That's just my position on that. Schuster is also a sell. The one that I do like, however, is Olakau'atu. I think the DCE will play more to that side, and that will then allow so Olakau'atu should probably still get good ball. I actually think Olakau'atu's a buy. And Garrick and Schuster are sells. And DCE could even be a buy on the run home because less Turbo, more DCE. It's usually how it plays out.
Yeah. Do you really think? I feel like Weeks has been put at fullback when Turbo isn't there as a band-aid fix. Now that Turbo's gone for the season, do you think they'll stick with what they know and put Garrick at fullback?
I don't. I think Weeks has got that position. I mean, look, there's other people that disagree with that line of thinking, and look, I could be wrong. I don't know the answer. My gut tells me that Weeks is the way they're going to go. The fact that they started Weeks there at the start, and they've kept him there, they've named him this week, and they continue to do every time Turbo's out. I just think that Weeks stays there. I don't know. I mean, if Garrick goes back to that position, I mean, you could wait a week to see. Like at least find out, because if he does get the fullback position, then he is a hold. Absolutely. From the Storm, so I think this is a game. I've got Nick Meaney in this. That's who I sold Toho to last week. But Warbrick, geez, Storm are coming good now, and they're starting to get the point. I'm annoyed that I sold Warbrick when I did. Harry Grant, I don't know if I'll be jumping on yet, but it could be an option if Cook's out. If you got Cook and you want, he's out. I mean, everyone's going to get Grant for the run home. I just think you should be buying players now that are either to bring money in so that you can get someone else, or players that you're going to run home with. And Grant and Meaney, in my opinion, fit that play. Munster's the other one, of course.
Yeah, a lot of people are thinking about bringing Munster in this week. Would you say, is that something that you do as long as you're safe for numbers in round 19?
Yeah, if you're safe for numbers in round 10, you can look at them other sides. Like I've got 16 already for that bye round, so I'm bringing 2 in. I'm actually brings me to that number. Bringing in Olakau'atu and Walker, so that's why I can afford to do it, because if they're not, I'm still covered in numbers. But I don't hate the Munster sell, especially now with Dylan Brown out. I think Cody Walker and Munster, there's another one, and Ponga would be the 3 standout 5/8s that I'd be looking at. The upside to Ponga is that you can move him to fullback, and I don't hate that at all. And then you can bring in Munster.
Yeah, I think with the fullback position, there's a few different options you can have. So I've got Ponga down there at the moment. Because I sold Buller this week and I moved Ponga down to bring in a better half. But yeah, I think if you get, and after watching Ponga play against the Roosters last week, he looks so dangerous.
Yeah,
every time he has the ball, he's looking like the Ponga of old. So I'm excited to have him there, and I'll happily play him at my fullback position as my second hooker. So if I get Latrell back, for example, I can have him there. But if Latrell is going away for a little bit back to America, like everyone's been saying, that
absolutely.
Teddy, him, you never know. Is the combinations aren't there? You may as well have Munster and Cody at 5'8", and then have Ponga and Gutho maybe even as your fullbacks.
Yeah, that's right. So my 2 trades this week were Buller to Ponga, and then I was going Brown to Walker. But then when Elise Katoa got ruled out yet again, and there seems to be some contention around when he's coming back, I ended up taking him Kalamatangi, which we'll talk about later on. But I really like the Storm. I think that look, I tell you who else I like as a sneaky pod option if you want someone in the front row, which is Nas. He's playing at second row this round. I'm not really keen on buying front rowers at this time of the year. I think that there's a few that sort of Tino and Haas would be the 2 I'd be running home with if you can do it. Aiden Fanua-Blake even, they're the sort of players, Tarpany even.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I've got so many. My front row stocks are full up now. I've set my front row up at the start. That's now done. I know I could probably get Tino in if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Because I got Horsburgh there. But it's so solid right now. I don't need to worry about that anymore.
Yeah.
But I do like Tino. I very much like Tino. But I'm not going to focus on that because I'm pretty solid up there. Now I can focus on my backs and where the points come from. So
yeah.
Awesome. Next game, Broncos versus the Titans. New coach of the Titans, so this could be interesting.
Yeah, it will. So the other coach has stepped up until Desi moves in. Holbrook's been moved on. This is an interesting game. I mean, the Titans do tend to leak a lot of points, and the Broncos tend to score well. So, I mean, a lot of people are going Buller to Reece Walsh. I don't hate it. I'm personally waiting until after Origin. I mean, if I was in a position to do it, I had to fill other holes, but it was one of the options I was looking at. I still really like Katoni Staggs and Farnworth as pod options. The Titans do play the bye round. We'll get to Titans in a second, but Pia Cora has been named in the second row position, which is interesting. Was it Capewell? Who have they lost?
Capewell, yeah. He wasn't named,
yeah. So he could be an interesting pod option if you're looking for a pod second row. I don't like a lot other than Fafita, obviously, in the Titans side. There's a few people that like AJ Brimson, I guess, if you're looking for a pod. Kelly, even if you're looking for a pod. But I personally don't like the Titans, but I do in the Broncos.
Yeah, I think there's like a couple of the ones that you either have or you don't. And that's Tino, Fafita.
Yep.
And really, that's if you want to be out there and do a pod, which I don't like the idea of, but Mo Fodawaker is pretty handy as well. But there's too many other options out there to worry about making those kind of trades in the forwards.
Especially in the forwards position. Yeah, I think that now's the area where we're bringing in spine, second row, centre wing, ceiling players, those players that can get you a 60 every round. And then with anything at all on top of that, they score well.
Yeah, that's like I was talking to Brod yesterday about talking about my two pods that I have in the center wing, and I was like, oh, I'm nervous because I've only got like after this week I've only got 12 trades left. After this week I've already made my trade this week, but I'll have 12 trades left, and I've got two pods that are so lowly owned in the top 1%. One's owned by 4 people, the other one's owned by 7 people, and I'm nervous if they fail. I need to trade them out because. But I feel safe because I'll name who they are now. I got Daniel Tupou. I bought him in last week.
Yeah, I don't mind Tupou.
And I got Nofaluma. So to me, ideally, my thought process with these two was if they fail, I have to trade them out. But these two both have very reasonable base for center wings.
Yeah.
And they have reasonably high ceilings for center wings. So to me, it was risky to go these guys, but without the risk because they're pretty decent base as well. So pretty happy with those at the moment. So I might stick with them for the rest of the run home. So
yeah.
And Nofo after this week, he doesn't have any more buys either. So Tigers, this is their last buy.
Yeah, that's right. And Titans as well. Yeah, they've got a clean run sheet as well.
Yeah, very handy. Anything else in the Broncos Titans match? Should we move on?
Yeah, I think we'll move on.
Awesome. Okay, so Rabbitohs versus North Queensland. Let's talk.
Yeah, so this is interesting. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players that I think are buys, 6 players that I think are buys, or even 7. But there's 5 of those that could potentially play Origin, which is obviously Murray, Koloamatangi, Damien Cook, Cody Walker, Campbell Graham are all options, genuine options to play, especially Graham and Koloamatangi. I think both of them are big chances.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, I know Critter got put on the Origin side because Latrell has that flair, and to replace him, you have to have someone with a bit more flair. And Critter normally has that flair in club level, but he was boring on Origin night. Did nothing to do that. Well, I think they need someone with a bit more stability, and I think Campbell Graham is that guy to replace him if Latrell doesn't get named in that spot. But then there's another spot as well with Turbo out. So
interesting news around Latrell is that he could possibly be worse than what people thought, and that he could be going over the States. But I've heard nothing concrete from that. That's just people talking. But like I've said, and I sort of got a little bit frustrated by this. I wrote today that I believe South and Penrith will be the grand final sides, and I still stand by that. Having said that, Latrell needs to be there for that to happen. Yeah. I don't see that. Souths are a ceiling side. They really are. And I see a lot of points in that side, and I don't think you can go wrong. The other player I like that we haven't mentioned is Isaiah Tass. He's just clocking along nicely. He's either outside Cody Walker gets a try, or he's putting in Alex Johnson. I personally like Isaiah Tass better than Alex Johnson, just because he's got the base.
Yeah, Tass has been just quietly putting along with some decent scores too.
Yes, I got him in draft.
Yeah, doing all right for himself. Anything for the Cowboys? I know we've got Drinkwater that's doing all right. But I'm not sure if we're going to put with all the other options in fullback. Do we want to go that way?
No, I don't. I mean, they've got that fine Feki or whatever his name is in the second row, but that's only for Nanai being out. Luciano Leilua. Look, I still believe that they're going to run 3 second rowers at the Cowboys, so I don't think that anyone's a touch in that position. Drinkwater's the only one you could look at, I guess, as a pod.
I will say that I know he's not going to touch him, but more from an NRL perspective, that Finnifiwakai, he had a great cracker of a game last game he played. He looked dangerous every time he got the ball, but that's just like you said, that position there is so many players. You got Gajeski, you got Leilua, you got Nanai. There's so many guys that can play that position. He's just that way, but he did look good to watch.
Well, the fact that Luke is out this week means that he fills in for that position. But I mean, as soon as Nanai's back from Origin, he slots straight back in. And
Nanai's on the extended bench as well. I remember that. Right. So, and this game is on the Sunday too. So, we never know. He might. And they got, because for example, we've got in the centre, we've got Laybutt as well, who played a pretty good game last game. But then Holmes on the bench as well, extended bench as well. So you never know.
Just for South too, Mamoulius is on the bench, which could be an issue for Cook. I mean, he's there obviously as cover for Cook, but the fact that Cook played at centre and he played all but 3 minutes, he came in at the 3rd minute and played at centre, so he played the whole game. Could mean he gets rested. So as a Cook owner, I'm a little bit frustrated by that. I had exactly the numbers I needed for this round, and losing him would really hurt. I've got 17 at the moment, and Qatar out. I've had a few, as we all keep doing each week, but it is what it is.
Well, speak. It's not so much Cook, but we've kind of gone past this game, so I should bring it back. What are our thoughts on JMK coming back? He's been named to play. Have we had any news on whether his shoulder's all right?
Well, that's right. I mean, if you own him, keep him, hold him, and wait. Because he'll play the bye round. I don't know if I'd be bringing him in. Based on that information, it could be a wait and see. I mean, you look. Once players get injuries, they tend to just keep on following. Look what's happened to Turbo. Done one hand, he's done the other, and he's just in the war wounds at the moment. I feel so sad for Turbo, and JMK's another one who just doesn't seem to have that consistency of playing. He seems to.
Yeah, it's been frustrating. I've owned him. I've got him and Cook as my two hookers at the
Yeah.
moment. So if Cook goes, he gets rested, and JMK doesn't pass through his fitness test, I'm a bit nervous there.
Yeah,
So
I've got Nikorima and Cook. So
mm,
my plan was to sell Manu and bring him down, but I'm going to hold Manu a little bit longer until I see him move to centre.
yeah. Yeah, alrighty. Yeah, something with we better talk about it now in the next game, Sydney Roosters versus the Raiders. I'll say Manu. What are we thinking of Kiri? Do we think he has to pass a fitness test before he plays?
Yeah,
That's
well,
what I
I
heard.
mean, apparently, so what's happened with Kiri is he just knocked two screws loose.
Mm,
So there's no concussion problems at all. It's just a jaw issue, and he's got no broken jaw. So Kiri is fine. Yeah, he has to pass the fitness test. So it'll be interesting to see. If not, I reckon Drew Hutchison moves into the side and will fill in that spot. That would be my guess. And oh, sorry, I think I don't know. Manu's been moved back to centre. That's right. Gosh, I've lost the plot there for a second.
yeah, I'm
There's a
a
chance
bit
that Manu
nervous.
can come back.
Yeah, a bit nervous because there's been a lot of talk about on the a lot of podcasts and stuff not super coach ones, but more NRL style ones about saying that they should. Manu's not a 5'8".
He's not.
He's a great fullback. He's a bloody amazing center. But he's just not. And that's I think they're trying this experiment to get him on the ball a bit more. I think if he plays that roaming center role, he gets his hand on the ball more. I think he's like a must-have in Supercoach. And I know a lot of people say that at center wing he averages 40. If you look at the end of the last few years after Origin, he averages about 66
Yeah.
at center because for some reason he gets given the license to roam at the end of the years. So I'm not sure. So I'm going to keep him. I'm happy with him. So
The player I think is a sell now there is Billy Smith. He's just an absolute spud. I fell into that trap. I'm annoyed I fell into that trap. And I knew not to buy that, but I still done it anyway because I saw the pretty dollars, to be made. And he's just been so bad. His errors and, he's the other ones that I really like is Stili Tupanua. I think he could be an interesting pod option. I mean, I looked at him last week myself. He ended up crossing, but he's also one of them players, the way he tackles there. He looks like he's one shot away from hurting himself as well. But
yeah.
I like Stili Tupanua as a pod. And from the Raiders, I still like Jordan Rapana as a pod. It's definitely poddy. Those that tell Jarrod Croker, well done. He stayed in the side, which is good. Corey Horsburgh could be a sell soon if you're looking for someone to sell in the second row position based on the fact that he's going to play in that second Origin. They've got another bye. There's a few different things, that says to me that I don't believe he's a keeper. I believe he's done his job, of course, but I think he's at the stage of moving on.
It's probably a blessing in disguise for me because I've got him in my team and I really want Tino in my team. So it might be a blessing in disguise, mate. So I feel like I'm not wasting that trade in the front row, but I think it's a good upgrade. So
yeah, well, that's sort of where I'm looking as well, mate.
Yeah, so I'm liking my pod in this game. I think being in Sydney, I reckon Daniel Tupou might get a few tries. I think he's going to be running at Rapana. So Rapana love to shoot out and try to stop that defender. So I'm hoping that Tupou gets a few tries in this game. So that'd be a nice little pod for me to go all right this week.
Well, it's at Allianz. I mean, look, those that are talking about Tedesco, if you own Tedesco, play him and hold him. I wouldn't be buying Tedesco now. I'd wait until after the Origin. Yep. Like Raiders do play in that second bye, which is interesting. So, those that have got Tarpany, I would holding on him until after that bye at the very least if you are thinking of moving him on. But yeah, I agree.
I'm stoked. I've got Tarpany in my team. I know he's in my second row at the moment because my front row is a little bit stacked, but it's good. That's why it's good to have that versatility and that stable number you're going to have every single week in the second row. So,
do you think Angus is going to stay at the bench, or do you think like every year that he seems to play the reduced minutes, but when he gets to that run home, he tends to fall back into the side. And I think Satili Tupanua and Angus will be the 2 second rowers at some point. And if that does happen, I think Angus will become a buy when that does.
I'm going to tell you right now, mate. I don't even know why they're sticking with Egan Butcher. Don't get me wrong. In attack, not like so many errors he makes. It's I'll watch the game and I look down because I'm getting bored because it's a Roosters game, and then I look up and then I see a knock on from Egan Butcher. It just happens so often. I think I'm not saying it could be just getting the flat balls in the line. I'm not sure, but I just see so many mistakes from him. It won't be too long. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see him drop out into the bench right now and have Angus next to Tupanua.
Don't be surprised if Nat Butcher moves back into front row and Lindsay Collins drops back to the bench too.
He had a cracker of a game of Origin, didn't he? Oh my God.
Yeah, Lindsay had a great Origin game, and Nat Butcher had a great game at front row for the Roosters when he started there as well.
Yeah, he did. He played. I was watching. I was in a head-to-head, one of the ones I don't really care about too much, but there was a guy that had Nat Butcher, and I'm just like watching his score just tick over like crazy. He played a great game.
So Suwali's dropped out of the side altogether.
Suwali? He's suspended, Suwali.
Oh, that's right. I knew something wasn't right there. I still believe, right, that when Suwali comes back, he should go to that other wing. Tupou one wing, Suwali the other. I don't understand why they're playing him at centre. He would be my winger for those tough carries that he brings back with Tupou. I think him, Tupou, and Tedesco bringing those carries back from the back would be very Rooster-like, the way the Roosters normally
definitely,
play.
Yeah. And they've got that young Poago there right now, and he's like the likely one to drop out when Suwali's back. So you're not dropping Billy Smith. He's kind of earned his spot now where he's done his hard yards. You're definitely not dropping Tupou or Manu, so it's got to be Poago goes. So. Yeah. And I don't see Billy Smith. I think Billy Smith is wasted on the wing as well. So I think he needs to be in that centre role. So it makes sense that he'd go to the wing. Yeah, you never know what's going on in Robinson's head. So
well, that's right.
Awesome. All right. So we'll go to captain choice. Trades first. We'll talk trades first. What's you've already kind of mentioned them earlier, but what are you looking at? Yeah,
so I've gone Eli Katoa. Look, I wanted to hold Elise Katoa for the run home. I bought him in. He got me 12, and the next 2 rounds he hasn't played. It's a very frustrating purchase, that one, and then just selling him back out again. But I'm selling him to Kaloa Matangi, and my other one is Dylan Brown to Cody Walker. So they're the 2 trades that I'm looking at this week.
Yeah, I like it. I'm undecided, but at the moment my trade is only going to do 1 trade this week, and that's Buller out for SJ at the moment.
Nice.
That way I've got another decent half to partner with Hines.
Yeah.
And I've got Ponga and Dylan Edwards at fullback, so I'm still kind of hoping. I think Dylan Edwards is in for a cracker of a game against the Knights. So. Looking forward to seeing that score. Last week I didn't have Gutho, and I still got that big score. I was nervous. I'm like, oh, Gutho's going to ruin my big. I knew I was going to get a good score. Everything was looking so good, and then I'm like, it's not going to look as good now because everyone's got Gutho and I haven't. And then I had Warbrick, who's owned by 7% of the bottom 1,000, and I was like, thank you, Warbrick.
I had the VC, and I said on the pod last week I was vice captain in Gutho. And then I changed my mind and changed it to Manu. And when Manu went well, I thought, lucky I did that. And then all of a sudden, Gutho come out and done what I said Gutho would do, and goal kick. And I cannot believe the goal kicking style that Gutho has, but he was nailing them. It was the most unorthodox kicking style I've ever seen. The way he sort of turned, but he's sort of kicking it on an angle, and it's sort of coming back in. It's sort of very low trajectory, but he got the job done.
Must have been a windy day. You know what it's like when you're playing golf and it's really windy, you aim low.
In Gutho, we trust.
That's it. All right, captain, vice captain choices. What are we looking at?
So it's very generic. I'm going vice captain Gutherson, and I'm going captain on Cody Walker versus the Cowboys. I think that I see points at the home game for them. I would have much preferred Latrell to be in the side, but I still think that they're a ceiling side and got the points in them, and I think they'll get the job done.
Yeah. Well, mine is very not vanilla. Mine is crazy and out there. I'm VCing Sean Johnson.
Yeah.
And I'm going to captain Dylan Edwards against the Knights. I think it's a bit riskier, but I don't think it's that risky. His low scores aren't that low. So I think I'm thinking it's going to be a big score this week. So I'm hoping he's good for me. But I also feel as though I won't need my captain. I think Sean Johnson's going to get a nice big ton against the Dragons.
So just for the record, I had 3K short to go Katoa to Sean Johnson and Dylan Brown to. Yeah, because I actually had 269k in my bank that I'd saved up for it. And I'm annoyed because the other trade I was going to make was a little bit cheaper last week. And if I had made that trade, I can't even remember who it was. They scored equally to Meany. I would have had the money to make that trade. But anyway, it is what it is. Because I would have much preferred to bring in Sean Johnson and Dylan and Cody Walker this round, and then bought Kalamatangi on the buy round. Going in.
Yeah, I'm unfortunate enough. I got about 316k in the bank after that trade.
Yeah.
Because I had that much money in my bank account last week. So if I go Katoa out, I can get someone for 635k, just falling short of who I want. But
Oh, nice.
But I'm not required to play Katoa this week, so I don't mind if he gets dropped out. I'm not too upset.
Yeah.
Because I've got 19 players this week. So and that only includes 2 players that are backing up from Origin, and that's Damien Cook and Payne Haas.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
if Payne Haas is out, I've got Horsburgh to throw into the front row. If Cook's out, I've got JMK in the front in the hooker spit spot. So I'm pretty safe there.
I'd 100% vice captain Sean Johnson if I owned
Yeah.
him. Sean Johnson vice captain, Cody Walker captain would be pretty for me.
Yeah.
But I don't mind Dylan Edwards either, and I like Carpenter. There's a few options out there.
Definitely.
Look at Reece Walsh, another option.
Yep.
And if you want a pod, Kalamatangi could even be an option.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. I was looking at that in that game. I think it's going to be very, very sneaky little. I captained him a couple of weeks ago, and he got me 55 points. I wasn't happy with that, but yeah. But other than that, I think he's definitely got a decent ceiling on him. So, alrighty. So, we got some questions there, mate.
Yeah, we have. So,
questions.
First question, I think we've answered already. Is Gary Cassell if he doesn't move to fullback? Yes, if he doesn't move to fullback.
Yeah, I'll be holding one more week, just to see what kind of output is there. But that's it. I'm waiting and seeing. But yeah, if that's the result, he's gone.
So that was from Mark King. Alan Aldog writes asked the same question: is Gary Cassell without Turbo? The third question is thoughts on Walsh Ponga fullback combo as a head-to-head player. Also, is CNK a possible centre wing keeper?
If you're a head-to-head player, I don't mind that Walsh Ponga combo. Both got massive ceilings.
Yeah.
I know Walsh's base isn't as good, but it's still, if you're a head-to-head player, there's some sneaky little pods to be up against in head-to-head.
Yeah, I don't know if Walsh has got the ceiling, but I agree with you on Ponga. I mean, there is the option of Walsh having big games, but I don't think he's got over 100, has he?
I think he's got a few, mate.
Has he? Is that right?
Yeah, remember there was a couple of games where he was
probably the ones after I sold him.
Yeah, probably. Right? So, and what did you say? What was the other one? Was it CNK?
CNK. Yeah, I do. I don't mind CNK based on the fact that Garrick's gone. There's a few players that have gone out of contention. I actually think that CNK is a keeper. Yes, I do.
Yeah, I got it now. So he's hit 100 3 times this year. Once was last week. The last round 15 against the Knights.
What's his highest score?
116. You got it.
Yeah.
So it's a ceiling there. But like you look at he's missed out on tons by a very small amount. He got 95, 99, 93. So not as bad as decent ceiling there. So.
Yeah, that's what I meant by no. Like he doesn't have them 150, 160 scores.
No, Ponga's got a 180 in him if he wants to. So yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and I believe that Gufferson does, Tedesco does, and Turbo does.
Yeah.
I just don't quite see it because the thing is they've all got base, whereas Walsh doesn't have the base, so everything he gets is ceiling. Basically, is attacking stats basically.
Yeah.
True. But look, I think Origin will do Walsh a lot of good. It'll lift him a lot of confidence, and he might start. He took on Melbourne. The game against Melbourne was the eye opener for me. When he played against Melbourne, I thought, geez, that was a really good game from Walsh. Melbourne are a very good defending side. They're a physical side, and he stood up. And in a few games, I've seen him MIA where he's on literally nothing in the first half, and then he comes out in the second half and he goes off. So if you can put two of them together in both halves. The next question's from Michael Carver. It says thoughts on Tafare and Kenner.
Not a big fan of Kenner. Kenner won't be there for long, would he?
No.
His job security there would be very, 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 very low, I think, because you got so many players in the background. You got Isaac Thompson as well that could be playing there. Right. There's just too many options there to replace. If he has one bad game, he's gone.
Yeah, I don't like those players that could play, couldn't play kind of players, especially not on the run home when trades are starting to reduce. You know, you don't want to be wasting trades on players like Defaro or Kenner.
Mm.
If you own Faro, well done. In my opinion, you're going to have to nuff him out at some point once their side's back and full, because he could play off the bench and you could get him playing 10 minutes at the end of the game. That's the last thing you want on the run home, is those AE nightmares.
Yep.
Any timeline return for Cleary? So round 22 is the possible 21. So they said 6 weeks, that equals 21. So I'm estimating 22.
Yeah. But yeah, I will say be careful on him though. If he is to come back, it's a hamstring injury. He could be 2 weeks. Watch him, and if he starts to look good, then jump him on, because hamstring injuries can hang around. I think last time he got this niggling injury, he came back after about 6 weeks off and got a 45 and a 48. And the week after, and the week after that, and that was, I think it was a confidence thing. You know, confidence when you're after an injury, But the week after that, 45 and 48, he smashes out at 150. Wait, I think the golden rule is 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. At least one, and you know, depending on draw. But I agree with you. I would at least wait when he comes back for the one round. He's got a relatively high break even as well, so you know, you can hopefully he does get that 45 and he comes down a little bit for us. So 2 more questions. Alan Fisher. I'm tossing up between Sean Johnson and DC. As my other half is Hines. Sean Johnson's the answer, mate.
Yeah, and the reason why we'll say that, and I agree, is Sean Johnson has kicking duties. So I think the kicking duties are going to add that extra base to
the other
DC is a good option, but I just don't. I think SJ is a little bit above.
The reason I wouldn't do that is that DCE plays Origin and Hines is still a chance to play Origin, so you can find yourself without either half, which is basically what he's asked. And leaning towards Sean Johnson as his break even is negative and playing Dragons this round. It's a great matchup to bring in Sean Johnson. He plays the bye round 19. That would be my choice. But DCE does do well on the run home.
Oh yeah, he does. He's a good little. I used to love having him as my backup half with Cleary on the run home, because he normally has a decent ceiling on him too.
Yeah, and without Turbo in the side, that ceiling actually lifts for DCE. You know, DCE Turbo tends to lake a lot of ball and demand a lot of ball, and it tends to go out to the left or the right to the wingers or the flanks, which is good for all of them, but DC doesn't get as much of it. But DC's sort of step up. And
that's the reason why Schuster also is a sell. Because,
absolutely.
Yeah, he's at DC's and I want that ball, and then make sure he controls the game.
Absolutely. And he's just a dud for Supercoach Schuster. At second row, he was fine. At 5'8", he's a dud. I don't like him at all. Lots of people keep saying that they do. I don't. The last question, any decent, cheaper second throwers that covers the next buy? Any cheap second thrower that covers the next buy round? Well, so Cardi's kind of mid-range, and Knights don't play the buy round, do they? No, so Dylan Lucas is an option.
I think we mentioned this last time. Last week before the round 16, I mentioned it. If you're looking for a cheap option in that buy round, you wait till the teams get announced that week. Because you can get anyone. You can get a cheap option. Let's just say Rabbits are playing that game, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah. Let's just say Jed Cartwright gets named again on the bloody edge. Yep. And then between now and round 19, he gets a niggle, and then they're throwing someone else on there. You just have to wait. When it comes to cheapies, you wait. When it comes to those guns, like a Tohu Harris, for example, jump on them now, of course. But yeah, cheapies, wait. You can't be risking yourself that much. It's just another trade out you're going to have to do.
I agree with all that, 100%. That's what I always do, especially for those fringe players. You know, like, because a fringe player you could bring in now for the buy round, and then they don't even make the squad. So if you wait for that round, then absolutely.
And I'm a victim of that myself. I said I brought in a couple of fringe players for round 13, and like Gajewski and all those and a couple others around there, and they all got dropped.
Yeah.
Or I had Burbo. I still got Burbo, but I had Burbo. I got him because he was named and he was starting. He was getting good scores, and I was like, he was in for Tuolangi, and I was like, he's got this spot until Tuolangi's back, and then he gets injured.
Yeah.
So I lost him as well. So you just have to wait, and this is not like. This is just me learning from my experiences that I've had this year. So,
well, I got Burbo too. I traded him down because he was giving me dollars to do something elsewhere, and I liked the fact that he was centre wing and second row, and I had him at centre wing, which I thought, playing at second row would be nice for the buy round, but that didn't play out.
And he was getting he was coming on for 27 minutes a game off the bench and getting like 30, 40 points, getting tries. He's playing in that, and he was doing really well. Yeah, and then he finally gets the starting gig, and then he gets injured. The poor bugger.
It's frustrating.
It's in their blood, the Gerbo blood.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're all running back rough shot at the moment, aren't they? All three of them.
Oh yeah, poor buggers.
Yeah, Casually,
All right,
Trbojevic.
that's it. Anything else we want to talk about before we finish up?
No, just yeah, no, nothing really. Andrew Johns Cup's going along nicely. We're putting the scores out. Oh, we've got to still put out
The ladder, yeah.
the ladder. Keep forgetting.
I'll do that after this, mate. It's all good.
Yep.
Awesome. And normally we'd like to talk a little bit of NRL after our pod, but there's some game happened last night, I'm pretty sure. I'm not really too fussed
Oh,
on the
mate, so
result.
let's talk a little bit about Origin. Mate, let me just start with what I've read. I wrote a big post. Did you read the post I wrote today on the
Mate, it was too long, mate. I had to. I got a headache.
Oh, right. Well,
I started reading it.
I wrote down each position and what I thought and why they should be there. But basically, I'm saying that I think Tupou should be in the side. I just like his tough carries back. I really don't like Josh Adokar. The other option was I think Burton's 100% got to be in the side. I actually had Hines at 5'8", Moses at 7, and Burton at 14, because I just think Burton offers you that coverage, and Cook would be my starting hook. And the other thing I had was I think that Murray needs to start at lock. I really don't like Yo.
Really?
I don't.
No, he's a gun player.
He's a good player.
He's the most stable player in that team.
He's a good player. I agree with you, and he's a great defender, but he doesn't do what Murray does. You look at Murray when he came on last night, the leg speed of Murray straight up the middle. And what that offers is that when he does that, what I want is Murray starting lock, right? And he gives that quick ball for Cook. Then when Yo comes on into the lock position, move Murray into the front row when you're taking off one of your front rowers. And that way you keep Murray in the side in that versatile, and then Murray comes off. And then when your other forward comes back on, I just think that Murray's leg speed, and Martin is the other one. Olakau'atu too, and Kalamatangi also need to be in the sides. But they're big bodies. We need big bodies.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would say negative about Yo is he's a big, tall fella. So getting up to play that ball fast enough is not quite there. But every time he runs the ball, he runs a good line. He normally beats that first defender and gets kind of past him, makes his arms free. So I just felt weird. Like if we're going to pick any problems on the blue side, it's definitely I would not have picked Yo. I think I see a lot of posts about saying that they think Moses played better than Cleary. I'm like, you know what? The halfback to me is the guy that controls the game. I look at the score in game 1 versus the score in game 2 and tell me that Moses played better than Cleary. Moses, if anything, they were equal. I think Moses did exactly what I thought he was going to do.
Moses and Cleary both suffering from the same syndrome. They don't have a second kicking option until New South Wales learn that we need a left and a right, so that because you're able to rush Moses and you're able to run Cleary. I thought Moses done a really good job last night. The problem with Moses was that players weren't going with him. To say that he played better than Cleary is madness. Cleary is the best number 7 in the game, and anyone that argues that doesn't know rugby.
I'll tell you, I think I would not be upset with the Cleary halfback Moses 5'8", because I didn't like the Moses Luai combination because they're both running halves.
That's
right. I'm old school. I love to have that organising half with a running 5'8", and I think Moses, it would be a phenomenal running 5'8" to partner with Cleary, and that would actually be a much better side.
Well, that's what that post, if you had read it, not going to take, was about today. Was actually what I said was that the 3 options that I would have is if Cleary is playing, I'd have Moses at 5'8", Hines at 5'8", or Burton, because all 3 are kicking players. And the reason I've ruled Burton out is only for his versatility, where I believe he can play the 14, and that allows Hines or Moses. And I would really like Moses and Cleary. I think they would go together. But Luai has got to go. He's not the answer. And not only that, Queensland have got this memory of Moses standing over Cobbo when he got knocked out that time, and it's
Luai,
player to hate, you know. And like,
no one needs to be reminded to hate Luai, mate. He reminds them every game he plays.
That's right.
That's coming from a Panthers fan, just so you know.
Yeah, that's right. And look, I love Yo. I'm not saying Yo's not doing his job. He's done a terrific job. I just think that Murray offers more leg speed. Yo's still in my 17. I just think that Murray gives us that quick leg speed through the middle. And the other thing that happened last night that's just insane to me is putting Cookie out to the centre. Now, look, Alexander came on to explain his reasoning, right? And this is what makes me angry. Murray's got a groin injury, so we were worried to put him out there. He's got a groin injury, shouldn't be in the effing side. And so, but the other option would have been to move Yo there, bring Murray into the lock position, put Yo out into centre, and then you still got that Murray Cook combination coming through the middle, which is where we needed to get the point in the middle.
And that would have solved two problems. One, it would have had a more better defensive center because
Yeah.
one thing Yo is good at is very good defensively with
Absolutely.
reading. So they wouldn't have exposed. He is not as fast, so they could have tried to run around him, but he's still much better at reading. He's really good at that. So I think that would have stopped that problem, and also the problem that you discussed before with the slow play the ball through the middle, having Murray there anyway.
And the other thing is that they needed somebody taller out there than Cook. I mean, you're putting bombs up to Toho and Cook. Like, wow. You know what I mean? You've got Yo, he's a big, tall body. You know, I believe that he could have negated those high balls, like better than Damien Cook. Damien Cook is one of my favourite rugby league players, and he's played winger and centre growing up through younger ages, but he's a middle. He's a quick middle, and we just lost that, what we brought him in for, which was that quick play up the middle. And when he did play in the middle, he scored a try.
Yeah.
By those short passes.
I'll tell you what, I was thinking about this as the game was on last night, and this is probably going to sound really insane, but I feel like if they're going to have a fear that if Cookie couldn't play 80, for example, to have a backup hooker on the bench, I wouldn't be upset about having 14 as Burton and a 15 as Robson. And then having two big boppers, because you look at those forwards, you've got Yo who can play 80. You've got Haas who can play massive minutes. You've got Murray who can play massive minutes. So I think just put you got players, just get two big boppers that are impact big boppers. They're going to come on there and play 20 each. And then you have Robson and you have Burton as their replacements. If that happened last night and Burton got put in the centre over Cook, I don't think we win. I think our attack wasn't good enough, or I don't want to take away from, because Queensland defended amazingly, so I don't want to take away from that. But I reckon our attack would have looked a lot better and less disjointed. And I think because how many passes went down to the ground because Cookie is not used to that tap on. So I like that idea of having two versatilities on the bench.
That's right. Well, I personally wouldn't do that, but I hear what you're saying. I think Burton is the 14, can play anywhere. He's a big body and he's got that kicking game. He can fit anywhere. And then it allows you to have players like Madison on the bench, or Kaloa Matangi on the bench, who's a big body who can play through the middle. He can play front row, or he can move to an edge. Burton can play anywhere in the back line. And then RCG would be the other one, or Kaloa Matangi, Olakau'atu would be my other. But I don't hate your way of thinking. I much like it better than what we saw last night.
Oh yeah, definitely,
yeah.
But we aren't the magic minds that put these teams together, unfortunately. So, all right.
Just ask me, I'll tell you.
That's it. Well, enough about that sadness. Apparently there's a game on in a couple of weeks. I'm not going to watch it probably.
Yeah, man.
I think I'm surprised the refs. In saying that, the refs did try to apparently because the penalty count was like 8-2, so against Queensland.
Well, let me just say this: Queensland laid all over the players last night, and they did it the entire game. But look, that's Origin. You need to be prepared that that's how it's going to happen. But the two tries at the start of the game really took the wind out of us. That I don't believe either were tries. The first one you can argue is 50-50, and they have been giving those, But I never liked it when they slow the play down to look at a try. Where you play it in real time and it just went bang. His arm's gone straight by the ball. But you slow the play down long enough, his little finger's touching the ball and there's ground up, that's a try. And they've done that a few times through the year. So at least that's consistent with how the season's gone. But the second one, that was so far forward. Like it was in, the referees.
I thought it was funny they caught a forward pass in the second half, and I'm like, that was further backwards than the first one.
The game wasn't lost through referee, mate. The game was lost through Queensland defended really well. They deserved their win. I'm not going to take anything away from them. The other thing that stood out to me last night, I don't know if you noticed, but Hassan Luai, so the Queensland's team all stood with their arms in arms singing the national anthem. Have a look at what New South Wales done. Haas and Luai both got their arms down like this, while the rest of the team's got their arms around each other. It's almost like they're protesting against the national anthem. We got too mmany players in New South Wales side that don't have the passion to be in New South Wales. And I believe Haas, Luai are two of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, honestly, I think we need to get some young blood in there. The guys that I feel like it's their dream to be there.
Absolutely.
And that way that passion will just show in there. So and I know we're probably going a bit over, but I think that year, I think it was not last year, the year before, or it was one of the years recently where the worst Queensland side ever came out, all this young team, and beat us. And that was because I was so happy to get picked for Queensland that they just showed passion and they came out and destroyed. And we're just like, Our Blues just walked out and we're like, yeah, it's another day, another dollar.
On NRL 360, they kept saying that New South Wales are a much better side on paper. And I said, I must be reading a different piece of paper because the forwards, man for man, they had a much better side. You look from the number 8 up to the 13, and in my opinion, players like Carrigan, Tino, Grant, Hunt, I don't believe that our forwards are matching. I believe that if you're looking at spine players, but no spine player in Origin, it's different. Origin's a different beast. So spine players are only as good as the forwards lay the platform for. New South Wales dominated a lot of possession last night and a lot of ground, but Queensland were just holding on. And I mean, at the end, there was 2 times where New South Wales got to play the ball and they've still got their hands pushing them down, and that was played. And they know they give away a penalty. We've got the lead, we don't care. We'll just keep giving them away. Yeah. And that's the refs, but they deserve their win, mate. And well done, Queensland. Don't talk to me, anyone from Queensland, for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I put Brod's chat on mute for a little bit. Might do the same for Timmy as well. So
I'll do my head in with the Super Coach. But look, we'd be the same if New South Wales won. I'd be going, you know what I was going to write if we won? Queensland just don't get Origin. I just so badly want to write it just once.
Yeah, they don't get Origin, even though they've won the last 20 years.
I just don't feel our players have the passion, and it's frustrating, Dano, because I'm a New South Welshman, you're a New South Welshman. We want to see them do well. But it's not happening, and that
I feel like the fans have more passion than the players right now. So
absolutely,
yeah. All right, enough talk, enough tears. I've cried enough tears already. So let's move on to we'll finish up now, and we'll tune in again next week, and hope everyone sees some green arrows.
Yeah, good luck, everyone. Have a good week.
See ya.
So you want to be a champion? Oh no! Now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He's sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. That is set up and thrown for Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf, and then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.